Yeah, and after a series of exciting games in the first round, we are ready for an NBA special episode in the Three Thought podcast. And as we promised, we're gonna make our assessment on the first round of the playoffs, and we're gonna make some projections going into the second round. So, and Rasmus, what are your thoughts on the first round so far?
I think there was a lot of big and huge games and narratives in the first round, but also some surprising results. For example, the Warriors and the Clippers going in out in 6 games.
Yeah.
I didn't think that the Clippers had that energy to do or make it a longer series than 4 games, but
yeah, especially the game where they made the greatest comeback in playoff history.
Yeah.
So
Kim was behind with the 31 points in the middle of the third quarter.
Yeah, middle of the third quarter.
Yeah.
That's the most surprising part, that they did it in the third quarter.
Yeah, and it was in Oracle. It was not in Staples Center. It was in Oracle. So that they won 2 games in Oracle.
Yeah,
that's quite surprising.
But obviously, we're gonna go on to more details when we look at the first round matchups. But I mean, that's just I think it's between the 2 factors of Warriors being too lazy at times, being too confident going into the second round in the Houston series. But
they were too arrogant in that series. They thought they could just run over the Clippers.
They did. But yeah, let's just go through each of these first round matchups, and let's begin in the East, because most of the exciting series they happened in the West this year, first round matchups. So the first one we're going to look at is Nets versus 76ers, and the Nets actually started this series by winning the first game, but since the first game, the 76ers made easy work of them. And what are your thoughts on that?
I actually watched the first game, and I was quite surprised that the 76ers didn't go out and just played the game that they could play.
Yeah.
If you watch some of the highlights from the game, you can see it's only Jimmy Butler from the 76ers who actually plays a good game.
Yeah.
Ben Simmons was awful in that game. Also Tobias Harris, and Embiid has had some health issues in the series with I think it was something with his knee.
Yeah, it's his knee.
Yeah.
He has had some occurring problems with the knees, and especially for a big man at his size and weight, knee problems aren't the injuries you want to have.
Yeah, and he is a huge part of this. For the 76ers to have success, he needs to have good games every game and not have any injuries or some flus or something. He needs to stay on top of his form for the 76ers to have a chance.
And one of the things I remember is the way that the NBA media actually criticized Ben Simmons after the first game. But what I think was most notable is that Ben Simmons actually flipped a switch going into the second game. And ever since that second game, he's actually been pretty good.
Yeah, you have this notion of Ben Simmons not shooting the ball. He's awful at shooting the ball.
Yeah.
But last year in the playoffs, you saw the Celtics just go back and stand around the free throw line, and he could just stand out at the 3-point line. And he's not going to shoot, and they know it.
Yeah.
And then you watch how Brett Brown has changed how they are playing in the playoffs this year.
Yeah.
You watch all these running handoffs from Ben Simmons to Jimmy Butler to Tobias Harris, and then he cuts to the basket, and then he can go in and post up because he's, for the most part, guarded by a smaller guy.
Yeah.
So they can have this huge lineup, which there's almost none of the teams in the playoffs that can guard this.
Yeah. I mean, he just has this huge advantage over other point guards because even if you play 2K, you know it.
But he is almost like a center.
Yeah, he is. He's like a Magic Johnson.
Yeah,
he is Magic Johnson in his rookie season when he played center.
Yeah.
In one of the finals game where Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was injured, and he actually played a perfect game from the center. And that's the same thing because a lot of the people who obviously know about Ben Simmons' game, they always say that he needs to develop a shooting game. Obviously, that is true, but he doesn't need to perfect that game because he just needs to know how to get to his spot.
Yeah.
Where he has to know how to get to his strengths of his game, and that's been a problem in the Celtics series last year. But he wasn't as developed as maybe he is now, and you kind of see it.
If you watch the last regular season to this regular season, he wasn't that good.
No. As
he could be. For example, in the first season, he was really, really good.
Yeah.
But this regular season, he wasn't that good. So it seemed like he has some energy left in him for the playoffs here, and his mind is older, you could say, and he thinks more like a veteran than a rookie. So just this year or 1 year after, he is a lot better in his game in the playoffs because it is more intense.
It is.
And when you watch the series there with the Raptors right now, it's Kawhi Leonard, probably the best defender in the league.
Yeah.
Who's defending him, and it's going okay, but it's not going well.
No.
So it's.
But it's also Kawhi. I mean, he's just a beast in the defense.
Yeah, but I would still say Ben Simmons is actually playing really, really good in this series, despite he has the best defender on him in the league.
Yeah.
And that, for me, sums up his playoff mode, if you could say that. He has turned on his playoff mode and thinks more about what he's doing than just going for the basket or just standing behind the three-point line. What I'm going to do, there's nothing to do, and trying to be this leader on the floor. So, yeah.
True. So one of the other things on this series is Joel Embiid's health.
Yeah.
If I have to trade Joel Embiid or Ben Simmons, I would probably trade Joel Embiid.
I would take Ben Simmons.
Because I'm really worried about the health of Joel Embiid. I mean, every single season so far. How old is he now?
I think he's 20.
He is 25. 25. And Ben Simmons is, how old is he? Ben Simmons, he is 22.
Yeah.
So there's a 3-year difference, and Joel Embiid's knee is not getting better unless he cuts his weight.
No, but I would still say if, like the 76ers have done it this year, that he gets some games off and can just sit on the bench and they cut his time on the floor. But they need him in the playoffs. They can easily win games in the regular season against some of the baddest team in the league.
Yeah.
He doesn't need to play. So I think it's difficult, but I don't think they're going to trade any one of them.
No. Obviously, you want it to work.
Yeah, because they are so embedded in the 76ers.
The whole process.
The notion of the process in Philadelphia. They're both a part of it. Then you had also Jahlil Okafor and Markelle Fultz, who was awful.
One of the worst trades, worst drafts.
Yeah, but when you watch, for example, Jahlil Okafor, he was also a top pick, I think.
Yeah, he was top 5.
Yeah, and everybody thought that him and Embiid was the new dynasty of big men in the league and all that. And then they both get injured, and Jahlil Okafor didn't get over it. Yeah. Much like Markelle Fultz.
I mean, I remember Jahlil Okafor. He actually had a pretty decent rookie season.
Yeah.
He actually had a pretty decent one. But I just think the game, just like a lot of big men like Greg Monroe, the NBA, while he was injured, it just has developed into this three-point shooting league.
And that's why I think when you have Joel Embiid, you have the best of both worlds. You have a center who can shoot the free point really, really good, and it's a long time since you've seen a big man have the same
post moves as
have the same post moves as Embiid has, because he is so quick on his feet.
Yeah,
he can drive against the basket and roll around and all that, and still he looks like a god when he does it. Yeah, it's so impressive.
I mean, he really is the closest thing that resembles Hakeem Olajuwon offensively.
Yeah,
and also he's pretty decent in the defense. But I'm not saying that Joel Embiid is not the better player. I think he is that one level above Ben Simmons. But that his health when it comes to these injuries is just worrying. And obviously, I would give, if I was the GM or the coach, I would definitely give this project a shot, and especially if they can keep Harris.
But I would still say when you talk about Embiid's health, then you, on the other hand, you have Ben Simmons' shot.
Yeah.
When you compare it, it weighs equally.
Well, it can be developed.
But I don't think that there is some players who they can train as hard as they want on shooting the ball, but
it's not going to be better.
Exactly.
Some people don't have the feeling for the shot.
Yeah, look at, for example, Shaquille O'Neal.
Yeah.
His hands were too big to shoot the ball.
But he was also lazy, though.
Yeah, I know. But also at Dwight Howard, for example. But there is some of these big guys, they can't shoot a normal free throw.
Well, those two guys are the exceptions to that, because both of them were just too lazy. I remember the story when Steve Nash, when he came to the Lakers with Dwight Howard, and he told him, I can help you with the three-point shot. And Dwight Howard was like, no, I can figure that out on my own. I mean, but I get what you're saying. Some players don't have it. DeAndre Jordan, before he came to the Mavericks, he had a terrible free throw shot, and he was actually working on it every season, and he just couldn't until now.
Yeah, but
that's just a change in mindset.
Yeah, but it's still the player's physique. It's like Ben Simmons is he has too long arms. It's like Giannis. It doesn't look very good when they shoot the ball.
No,
it's look quite funny.
Yeah,
and
it's awkward.
when you watch Ben Simmons shoot the ball, when you shoot the ball, you need your elbow to go all the way down and point to the floor.
Yeah.
His elbow points 90 degrees differently, so he shoots like
you know. I mean, I totally get it. But look at Kevin Durant. I think if you just have the will to do it. I mean, you also have to look at it from Ben Simmons' point of view, because all his life he has never been in a situation where he has to be reliant on his shot, because he's just been that good.
Yeah.
And it's only now that he can see that he maybe should have worked on it. But
I would still say it also comes down to where you come from, because I don't know this exactly, but I have heard some places that Ben Simmons played a forward position or a center position when he played back in Australia.
Yeah.
Whereas Kevin Durant, for example, he has always played like this, what can you say? This scoring forward.
Yeah.
So and also LeBron James always been this scorer, and Ben Simmons haven't been that. He has been this big guy, all the places he has been almost.
Yeah.
So he hasn't had the chance, I think, to develop his shot. Whereas someone like Kevin Durant, he has grown up just shooting ball, always shooting the ball. So it comes down to your heritage in basketball. If you have played a different position than you do now in the NBA, then you have some different takes on how to play the game.
Yeah. Well, I think that's what we're going to wrap up for the Nets and 76ers. Obviously, they won because Ben Simmons flipped the switch. So it's going to be.
It just comes down to that the top 4 or 5
players
seats in the East was just
much better than the last couple.
Yeah.
I mean, it was expected. Obviously, they made the surprise of winning the first game, but
now we have the Bucks and the Pistons. It's the same narrative that we can easily say that the Pistons did not deserve to be in the playoffs. I would say they were so terrible.
They got blown out every single game.
Yeah, what was it? Andre Drummond had a he has minus 49 or something like that in the first game.
Yeah, he was terrible. But it's also because Andre Drummond's game he's reliant on his physique and overpowering the other players. And then Giannis comes around, and he's just, even though he's skinnier, he is much stronger than Andre Drummond, and he's more athletic, and he can put him on skates basically. So it was just a huge mismatch for Andre Drummond.
Yeah, but when you watch at the whole series, then or the whole Piston squad, then you have a really good player in Blake Griffin. He had probably played the best season in the NBA for his entire career this year. He was out in the first 2 games, I think. That played a huge role because then the Pistons didn't have a guy that could follow Giannis to some extent.
Yeah.
And then the Bucks, they just wanted to go out and just begin this playoff on a high note and just say, okay, we are the top seed in the NBA. Yeah. We need to go out and prove this to everybody that we can also do this in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And then it was, in some ways, it was like a cruise control.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it wasn't really a surprise at all. I mean, because the Pistons, they just came into the playoffs just barely.
Yeah.
And when Blake Griffin got injured, it was just, they're not going to go far.
Exactly.
It's not a surprise at all. But
exactly.
And that's why this series is just all about the Bucks.
Yeah.
And what about Giannis and his potential in the playoffs? What do you think about his potential right now?
I would actually take the first game against the Celtics just to compare it to say it, because I don't think that you can take anything from the Pistons series. It was like regular season games. It wasn't playoffs.
Yeah.
So in the first game, again in the second round against the Celtics, they start with the Aaron Baines on him, then Al Horford.
Yeah.
And also Daniel Tice came in and guarded him. It was actually quite a genius way to guard him because they could follow him.
Yeah.
They said, okay, we give you a little bit more space behind the 3-point line because we know you aren't that good a shooter.
Yeah.
But we don't want you to come into the paint.
Yeah.
And when he drove to the paint, then there was 2, 3, 4 guys just surrounding him and taking all the pass opportunities for him.
And also what they did different was that instead of just packing into the paint, they let Giannis get a dribble or 2 and then surprise him when other teams are just packing the paint, because that's when he just puts it out to the shooters.
Yeah, and in transition, I saw this funny picture where there were 3 Boston Celtic guys on a row just standing and wait for Giannis, and all the other Bucks players, they just ran down to the corners.
Yeah.
But Giannis, he had just one thing in mind: I need to go down
to the
and
basket,
then pass it out.
And also because Al Horford, he just has this. He doesn't look like an overly athletic guy, but he has some sneaky athleticism in him to actually contest.
He is
a
shot. Really clever
defender.
Yeah.
Just a good player in general. I mean, his 3-point shooting and mid-range was just on point the first game, but obviously, I mean, I think that was a fluke game by Giannis. I think that he just needed this first game where, because they cruise control through the Pistons, right? And now they're finally meeting some competition.
So it was like a wake-up call for the whole Bucks that they need to go out and do something else. But I would say when you look at Giannis, he has played a great regular season, and also a good postseason this far. But I don't think that he is going to be the best player in both in this year, but also going forward, because he needs to develop more things to do than just be this monster going into the basket. Because when you play against, if they played against the Jazz, for example, he would go directly into their trap, going into Rudy Gobert, and what to do. Yeah,
it is true. But I think it's the same thing with Ben Simmons, though.
Yeah, but I would still say Ben Simmons had to have this, that he also knows he needs to pass the ball.
Yeah.
Giannis also knows that, but it's like sometimes he just think, okay, I need to do this myself. I am the huge star on this squad. I need to show this to everyone.
He's not a willing passer like Ben Simmons.
Exactly.
I mean, I think he needs to be overly aggressive when he can, but in games like the first game against the Celtics, he needs to, he needs to realize that, okay, it's not his game today. Let's get the other people's going. So yeah, but just the last question before we go through the Bucks and Pistons. Are Bucks the real contender in the finals when it comes to the Eastern Conference, or do you have someone else?
I would say if they come through the Celtics.
Yeah.
But I would also say it depends on who they're going to meet in the conference finals.
Yeah.
I've said this in the past two podcasts that I think the 76ers has something that they can come with during this postseason. If Joel Embiid can stay healthy. Now, in the last game, he had a stomach flu against the Raptors. Yeah, they still won the game.
Yeah, they did.
So if the 76ers come past the Raptors and they meet the Bucks, it's going to be really, really interesting because they have two guys who can guard Giannis at really, really good with Tobias Harris and Ben Simmons.
Yeah.
So they can match up with the Bucks.
Yeah.
So it's going to be really, really interesting. So it depends on the game night who is the best team on game night.
Yeah. So going to the next matchup, Celtics versus Pacers, and everyone who followed the Celtics this regular season, it was a huge disappointment because everyone thought that the Celtics was going to be the next great contender in the East after LeBron left the conference. But going into the playoffs, have they flipped the switch? So suddenly, all the drama that was in the regular season has just come to a standstill in the playoffs. It's like Kyrie has learned so much from LeBron. He knows all the drama is going to happen through the regular season.
I would still say that the X factor in the first round here was Gordon Hayward.
Yeah, he's been good.
He played awful in the regular season.
He did.
And suddenly he turned the switch on when he came into the playoffs. It was the old Gordon Hayward.
But I also think that the Celtics finally have realized that, he is the best player. They're reliant on him because a lot of the problems that has been occurring in the Celtics locker room this season is that everyone wants to be the man.
Yeah, but I think it also comes down to the rotation in the squad, within the squad, because in the start of the season you had Jason Tatum who wanted to start, Jaylen Brown wanted to start, Terry Rozier wanted to start, Kyrie wanted to start, Gordon Hayward wanted to start, Aaron Baines wanted to start,
everybody,
and half of the squad thought that they would start the game.
And all the players were good enough.
And they can't go out and just say, okay, we play all of you guys equally minutes because some of the players need to have more breaks. For example, Gordon Hayward coming back from his big injury. He couldn't go out play 30 minutes in a game in the start of the season.
No, he couldn't. I mean, and also you could just see that his game took a hit with his injury. He needed some time to recover.
Yeah, but it's also in the mind. I myself have torn my ACL and have had this that when I go out play something, it's in my head.
Yeah.
It's my knee is totally fine, but in my head it says to me, okay, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this, and then you get scared.
Yeah.
And
True.
Gordon Hayward has also said that that in his mind, his mind says, okay, you can't go out in this position with your foot, because then it would snap.
Yeah.
So it's like he's come over this psychological thing with his foot.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, I when you go in and see to the whole series, I actually think it was a really, really good series, and the Pacers deserve to have at least 1 or 2 wins in that series, because
it was close.
I think it was the first game they were so close to winning the game, and then
Kyrie just took over.
Yeah.
I mean, Kyrie is just the best finisher in the NBA. Can we just say that? I mean, he's just a good closer.
Yeah, there is some people I would say probably a little bit better.
Kevin Durant is also on that list. I mean,
Damian Lillard.
Yeah, Damian Lillard. But I'm probably putting Kevin Durant at number 1. I mean, he's just 7 feet. He really can't do anything against that. And also he has 4 All-Stars surrounding him. Yeah. So yeah, that's also a thing. But yeah, I mean, Celtics. Is Kyrie staying in Boston if they're good in the playoffs, or is he going?
They need to get into the finals. If they don't get to the finals, I think he's going away.
Yeah,
but
come to the Clippers, Kawhi, Kyrie.
Yeah, but it still depends, because they need to choose between him or Terry Rozier.
Yeah, they have.
It's one of them they're going to go with.
Terry Rozier not staying. He has realized how good he is since last year.
Yeah, but if Kyrie goes away, then Rozier is going to stay.
Obviously.
If Kyrie stays, Rozier is going away.
Yeah.
So you can't have these 2 guards being on the same team anymore.
But yeah, and they're obviously beating the Bucks, and we're going to talk about that later. Another uneventful series in the East: Raptors versus Magic. And
uneventful.
Yeah,
the first game was quite funny.
Yeah, it was. But
DJ Augustine was MVP of the league in 1 game.
He was. I mean, he was brilliant that first game. But obviously, is Kawhi staying in Toronto?
It's the same with Kyrie. If they get to the finals and get a good result in the final,
then
they don't necessarily need to win the championship. They just need some good results.
Yeah.
And if they have that, then I think it's a no-brainer for him to stay. And I think there's a greater chance for Kawhi to stay in Toronto than there is for Kyrie staying in Boston.
Yeah, I would probably agree.
Because it seems like that Kawhi has found his feet in Toronto, and it really has a good chemistry within the team. And they have a good coach, they have a broad squad, can contend for a couple of years.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think he's going to go away from the Raptors, but it's like a 50-50 right now.
Yeah. I mean, obviously everyone knows how I feel about Kawhi. I think he is really one of the top 3 players in the NBA.
Yeah.
And obviously I would love to have him on the Clippers, but I feel the same way as you do, because he just looks like it's clicking in Toronto. They finally found the player who can get the Raptors up to that next level, because DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry was never able to do that.
Yeah, but it's like they have found their own, like, suddenly big three with
Siakam.
Or big 4, you could say, with Lowry, Kawhi, Siakam, and Gasol.
Yeah,
these 4 players are tremendously good when they're on the floor together.
Exactly.
It's like their death lineup.
Yeah, it is. I mean, yeah, and at the same, and we're just going into the Raptors' potential in the playoffs. I mean, it seemed to me that it's going to be a battle between the Raptors and the Bucks, as I have expected, and obviously, I'm more secure on Raptors taking the series against 76ers than I am with the Bucks taking the series over Celtics. And that's kind of, contradictory, because I think Bucks going to take everything, but it just seems to me that the Celtics, they just have this extra gear.
They have the history of the whole the whole franchise, and they have the veterans like Kyrie who has won a championship. They have Al Horford who has been deep in the playoffs before,
and they have a coach who's not maybe the most strategic mind.
I would say he is probably the best defending coach in the entire NBA history. Yeah. You could argue that.
Yeah, definitely.
But I still think because in the Raptors against 76ers series, it comes down to the game night again.
Yeah.
If the Raptors have this feeling, okay, we can do everything tonight, we're going to win this game, then they're going to win. But on the same hand, if the 76ers have that, then they are going to win.
I mean,
it's so close in the East who's going through and who's not, because it comes down to every possession during a game.
I also think it really comes down to the superstars on the teams, if they can make it click. Because the first game, Kawhi had 45 points, and I saw a bit of the game, and it's just everything Kawhi was doing, it just was perfect. Yeah. And in the second game, Kawhi was not being that guy. He seemed to be too eager to score the basket.
Yeah, but it's like you have on the Raptors, you have a guy who have won a championship. You don't have that in Philadelphia.
No.
You have some good guys on the floor. You probably have the best starting five in the entire East. But it's so difficult to say who's going through because right now it's the 76ers who have the home court advantage because they won the second game in Toronto.
Yeah.
And I think that could be a decisive factor. I think that both these series are going out in 7.
Yeah.
And then
it has the potential to do that. Yeah. It looks like that.
Yeah, and that means that Toronto needs to win a game in Philadelphia. And I think that the crowd in Philadelphia is going nuts right now when they're playing because it's a so long time since they have had so good a squad.
I mean, they had 5 years where they just was the worst team in the league.
Yeah, and this is the culmination of the process going right now. They have done everything during the regular season to get the best squad going into the playoffs.
Yeah, and also in this season, they finally made the jump to the process to actually trading some assets to acquire the best potential team they can have. They're in win now mode.
Yeah, and I think that it also comes down to if they can have the same harmony within the squad as they have right now, because there have been problems with Jimmy Butler, but it seems like it's away right now in the playoffs. That they are just in playoff mode and saying, okay, we're a whole city right now going together to trying to win this championship.
Yeah. So just to wrap it up, it's going to be after some uneventful series in the East, we're finally getting the matchups we're looking for, and obviously we're kind of in front in those series. Let's go to the West where the surprises have occurred. And let's just start with one of the most surprising squads this season, the Clippers versus Warriors. What does the matchup mean for the Clippers? Just to wrap it up, Clippers had the 2 most surprising wins in this round.
Yeah, you could actually say that. I think I saw some stats. I think that since Kevin Durant went to the Golden State, they have lost 3 games in Oracle, and 2 of them was in this series against the Clippers.
Yeah,
and the third one was Game 7 against against the Cavaliers.
Yeah,
so it
says a lot.
Yeah,
it says a lot, and I mean just to say, the Clippers are probably one of the huge surprises this season, because everyone thought that this Clippers was about rebuilding, and when they finally had a decent season going in the first half, where Tobias Harris was still in the Clippers, people were talking about him being an all-star in the Western Conference, and suddenly they traded him. The day after he hit a game winner.
But I think that the Clippers traded him to have a better chance in free agency.
And
it was all about getting some cap space for free agency, so they can go after 2 max contracts.
Yeah, they have room enough for 2.
Yeah,
that's true. And what's most interesting is the way this team is built up, because this team is just pure energy and resilience.
They probably have 2 of the most annoying players to play against. Patrick Beverley and Montrezl Harrell.
Yeah,
it's crazy to see those 2 play together. It's like they have just drank 4 or 5 Red Bulls and drank too much coffee and all that, and then they're just going in and play and
they just look like they've been on meth.
Yeah,
to be honest with you, and they're just bulldogs, both of them. I just love their energy, because I was a Clippers fan with the Lob City, and one of the things that there always seemed to be something missing on that team, right? This team is different. The only thing they're missing is superstars in the starting lineup.
Yeah,
their current superstar is a 6-man.
Yeah.
And he is unguardable. That's pretty cool.
You have some of the best defending guys on the Warriors in the whole NBA
with Klay Thompson.
Klay Thompson, Kevin Durant, Draymond Green, Iguodala, and so on. They couldn't guard Lou Williams. It's so crazy to see how good Lou Williams was in this series.
Yeah.
It was like he was on another level.
Yeah, and the question is, what does this matchup do for the Clippers in the free agency? And this is my thought. If you're a superstar right now, and if you're Kevin Durant, if you're Kyrie, or if you're Kawhi, obviously Kevin Durant is maybe there are talk about him going somewhere, right? Even though I don't like him, I don't mind him come to the Clippers. I just have to live with that. But if you're looking at this Clippers team, you're gonna have the feeling that I could go into the squad, and I'm not gonna piss someone off because I'm good enough to be on this team. And the most stars on this team are bench players. That's the feeling, because they have so much resilience on this team that you don't have to worry about it. When you sit down on the bench is not going to produce. That's the luxury you have.
Yeah, but for me, it still comes down to they need to build on this energy squad to have success, because you have seen it seen it with the Clippers before, acquiring these superstars, and they have been. I think they have been better in the playoffs this year than they have ever been in some of the other years.
Oh well, they have injuries.
Yeah, but still, when you look at it, it's like, okay, Chris Paul injured, then they have Blake Griffin and DeAndre Jordan.
Yeah, Blake Griffin was also injured at times.
Yeah, but I would still say they needed to do something with that team that they didn't. They couldn't do it.
For me, it's just a total opposite, those 2 teams, because the problem with the former Clippers team was they had a pretty good starting lineup, top 3 starting lineups, but their bench could never produce.
Exactly.
And this year you have a perfect bench, but you need some stars. And
but I would still say, if you watch at someone like what is the rookie starting?
Landry Shamet?
No, not him.
Shai Gilgeous.
Yeah, Shai Alexander. As a rookie, he goes in scoring almost 20 points per game in the playoffs. And so he's probably a star in the making for the Clippers. And then if they can still have, or if they can have Lou Williams on a good contract for them, and also for him, then they have some groundstones for
next.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's for me, Kawhi Leonard, he matches this team perfectly. He's resilient defense, and he's pretty good. He's not a ball hogger. He moves the ball and everything. Kevin Durant will also be good. I would rate like this. I would put Kawhi as number 1, but it's not sure if he's going to leave Toronto, as it was in the beginning of the season. Then Kevin Durant, because of he's a 2-way player. And then third, Kyrie. And Kyrie, I'm not so sure
But I still think it comes down to how the squad looks for the next season.
Exactly.
If they can't hold on some of the guys on the Clippers roster, then it's going to be difficult for them to get some of the biggest names in this free agency.
It is.
Free agency. So it comes down to how the squad looks, and I think that I still think that Kevin Durant is going to or to the Knicks or the Nets.
Yeah.
Probably also Kyrie doing the same move if he goes away, and then there's Kawhi left, and if he doesn't re-sign with the Raptors, I think he's going to the Clippers.
Yeah. Obviously, there are also other free agents, but we just mentioned the biggest ones.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, the other topic when it comes to this matchup, the Warriors. Are the Warriors finally getting vulnerable since they lost some games in the Oracle, or is it just a matter of flipping the switch on this map?
I think it's a matter of flipping the switch. It seems like there have been cruise control throughout the entire season. There's also some harmony issues within the squad, and that's why some of the guys are going away this season or this summer. But it seems like this is the year to take away the championship from the Warriors because it seems like they don't have this playoff mode. They can't go with the depth lineup. In the last game against the Rockets, it worked, but in some of the other games in the series against the Clippers, it didn't work.
Yeah, it didn't.
So it comes down to how the players play, and for me, it's a guy like Draymond Green. If he plays a good game, then the Warriors are going to win.
Yeah, exactly.
And if he doesn't play a good game, then they're
vulnerable.
Exactly.
Especially because DeMarcus Cousins is now injured.
Yeah.
And that was the exact position that the Warriors did not need an injury right now, because right now I think all the teams who has a pretty good center, they're gonna smell blood.
I think when you look at the teams in the East, they are just sitting there waiting to go into the finals and hoping they're going to play against the Warriors, because they know all of the teams have a good center.
Yeah.
Over there, if you take Joel Embiid, against them, then he's going to play against Andrew Bogut or Kevon Looney.
Yeah, and they're not great players.
He's going to play around with them.
Yeah, and especially if you're the Bucks, right? You actually have the perfect setup right now.
Yeah.
Because you have Giannis, they're not going to stop him, and he can throw the ball to all the shooters around him.
And you have Brook Lopez, a center who can go into the post, but also go off behind the three-point line.
Exactly, and even Brook Lopez can bully those guys, I think. And then if you have the 76ers, you have Joel Embiid who can do the same thing.
Yeah.
You have the Raptors, they have Gasol and Siakam who can do the same thing.
Yeah.
And Celtics finally, Al Horford,
Aaron Baines, Daniel Tice.
The East, all those 4 teams in the East have, ever since DeMarcus Cousins got injured. Even I was looking at Houston Rockets now. Okay, Clint Capella, you can do what you're doing right now. If he had a decent game in the first game, they would have won.
Yeah,
it's just basically that what it comes to, and also
if you have a good offensive center against the Warriors right now, you're going to win a game.
Yeah, exactly, and that's the obvious vulnerable point in Clint Capella's game. Also, the last game they had 18 turnovers and they had 18 offensive.
That's the problem with the Warriors. With the Warriors this year, also with the turnovers.
Yeah.
Because I think it was in the first quarter, in the first game against the Rockets, they had 8 or 9 turnovers
in 3 or 4 minutes.
Yeah, it's like they have the best squad in the entire history of the NBA.
Yeah.
And they just going around throwing the ball away, and they still led against the Rockets. It's crazy to think about.
It's just sometimes
they're too sloppy.
They're just, when it's clicking for them, they're so dangerous, and it's such a beautiful basketball to watch. But it can really get ugly when they're sloppy.
Yeah, and then you have the completely different look at them in the second game against the Rockets, where they ran a transition 94 feet, 0 passes or 0 dribbles.
Exactly.
They just pass it around, boom.
It's a basket right there.
Yeah.
So the Warriors are just if they're not sloppy, they're gonna win everything. That's the conclusion here. While Clippers, they made some positive impact in the playoffs of what they could do. Then we have Rockets and Jazz, and that was maybe the most eventful in the Western Conference. But just to talk about, is Harden the real deal in the playoffs finally, or is it just inferior opposition?
He's too alone.
Yeah.
When you look at it, he has Chris Paul who needed to be his partner in crime.
Yeah.
But he isn't.
He's not the same player anymore.
Exactly.
I mean, he's effective, but you can see that something is missing.
I would still say that the Jazz also defended him the way.
Weird.
Yeah, they defended him weird, but I think it was the Bucks who did the same in the regular season, and it worked.
Well,
because he makes these step backs, and when you guard him on the left side, then you are on his shooting hand. And then you can go up and he can go with his left hand into the paint and kick it out. But when he makes the step back, you're with him all the way because you are on the side of him at the start. So you guard him the best way you can. He is a tremendously good scorer, but he also needs to turn it down a little. Averaging 12 threes per game, not hitting 12 threes, but shooting 12 threes per game.
He hits 33%.
Yeah,
so
it's still good, 33%, but it's too much. I know it's the modern NBA, but he needs to do something else.
I mean, 33%. That's just like hitting 50% on twos.
It's average.
Yeah, that's the average. It's just. That means you're hitting a point per shot.
Yeah,
it's the same thing if you're 50% on 2-point shots. Yeah. It's the same thing, and that's why that 33% you want your threes to be around the 38 to 44% to have the analytical advantage on those shots.
Yeah, but I would also still say that I said this to Denne before we started the recording that I saw Colin Cowherd, known NBA expert. Saying that for James Harden to have a good game, he needs to have the refs to have a good game.
Yeah.
Whereas Kevin Durant, for example, he just needs to have the ball to have a good game.
Exactly.
And it's so true because if James Harden doesn't get the fouls called on him, he's getting so frustrated and he's just getting worse.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the first game, obviously that was an exception because there were some questionable calls, but there had been games where. For example, last year, when the Rockets and Warriors faced each other, there were some times where obviously there were some missed calls, but it wasn't as clear cut as this year, where you just have to sometimes realize that Harden, even though that I have a problem with that way the difference in how they referee in these games compared to the regular season, because I think it should be done in the same way through the whole season, because if you have some holes in your game, like James Harden was reliant on those calls, it's just an unfair advantage that he's not getting the same calls in the regular But
I would still say when you're looking at how James Harden is shooting, he takes his foot out so there can be contact, and he gets so many fouls called because of that. And actually, when they does that, it's an offensive foul.
Yeah, it is.
So people are complaining about the Warriors getting help from the referees and so on.
Only the first game. The second game.
It has been
the last year against the Houston Rockets. I also agree on that.
And they have had some help from the referees, but I would still say that you can say that it is the referee's fault that James Harden can't hit his threes.
No, that's true. Because
there is so many times where there is a little contact, but for me in the playoffs it's more intense. There needs to be a lot more physique going into those games.
Yeah,
and I think it's great to see that the referee doesn't call every single thing there needs to be called.
I agree with you
because it's like when you watch football, European football, soccer, whatever.
Soccer.
Then you, when you see a Champions League game, for example, compared with a Danish cup or not cup game, but
just a
league game. It's totally different.
Yeah.
Also, from game to game, when you see some of the best teams going at it in the league compared to some of the worst teams, there is more fouls with the worst teams than there is with the biggest teams, because there is more intensity.
Yeah.
And the referees needs to give this. What can you say? They need to give more room for players to have this physical, because it's also great basketball for us to see. And still, the referees are still humans. They can make fouls, or not fouls. They can make fouls and
Errors. Yeah.
Errors. Yeah, there it was. When they are refereeing a game.
Well, my thing is not that I'm not saying that every game should be based on the regular season level. My thing is that the way you want physical basketball in the postseason, you should also do that on the regular season. So James Harden, a player like James Harden, knows how to play his game, going to the what do you call postseason, because it's like, I heard this analogy from one of the NBA experts. If you give some of your food to your dog and you do it on a regular basis, you can't be mad at your dog for asking for food later in the season.
Oh, no.
And that's the thing with James Harden, not because he's a dog,
But I would still say it goes the other way around also, because when you look at his step backs, I would say probably 50% of the time there's traveling.
Oh yeah, sure.
So it needs to go up against that. So if he makes traveling and they not get that, and there is a little foul, then don't call it. It equals each other,
exactly.
and then play on.
They should be consistent. That's my thing. They should be consistent with how they grade the fouls and the travel. Because I totally agree that Harden makes travel sometimes, and other players are not allowed to do that for some reason. So
But I just want to say one thing. I don't think that it's okay for people to hit each other in the head and in the eye, like we saw
what happened in the last game. Yeah,
but it's what it is in the playoffs. You don't see that to as much in the regular season, because there isn't this intensity.
No.
So it comes down to that it is the playoff. There is more at stake right now.
Yeah.
So
and just before we wrap this series up, just to talk about the Jazz, what happened for them? Because last year we looked at this Jazz team as having a really bright future, going with Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert. This season, their offense has not been able to click.
They need more offensive power. They have the defensive power to be the best team in the league.
Exactly.
But they need, if Donovan Mitchell doesn't have a good offensive game, then they don't have any other guys who can go out and play a good offensive
and
game.
They found out how to guard Donovan Mitchell now.
Yeah.
That's the problem, because he
I think he had one good offensive game and they won that game.
Yeah. But if he doesn't, even his open shots, he has had problems with those shots. So obviously he needs to work on those shots to be more consistent. But the Jazz, they need more offensive firepower.
Yeah, they need to go out and see if they can trade for some good players. For example, if I were them, I would see if I could probably trade someone like Joe Ingles and Kyle Korver, for example, for Lou Williams.
Yeah, I mean, I would look for some 3-and-D guys.
But I would say a perfect backcourt for them would be Donovan Mitchell, who has this explosiveness, and then an unguardable Lou Williams. He would be so good in the Jazz.
They should look for someone like Kemba Walker, even though he's going to a big market, though, I think.
I think he's going to Dallas, but...
Yeah, the Dallas would be pretty good. Because
Kemba, I also saw that they want to go for Chris Middleton.
In Dallas?
Yeah, so they can have Kemba, Middleton, Doncic, and Porzingis.
Yeah.
It's a good team.
That's a good team, yeah, that is.
Oh.
So going into the next Nuggets versus Spurs, the only Game 7 series in this first round. And one of the things that I think my theory is getting right on the Nuggets. It seems like the question still remains if the Nuggets have the experience to reach far in the playoffs. And I would say if they reach the Western Conference, it's a successful season for them. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Because I didn't.
I still think when you look at it right now, it's a good season for them because even though they're the second seed in the West, they also have a good squad and all that, but they don't have the experience going forward. They have a Paul Millsap who has some, and they have on the bench they have Isaiah Thomas.
Yeah. No, but isn't he wavered now?
Isn't he wavered?
Yeah, he is wavered.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he hasn't played. I mean, he's. He looks like a player who is soon out of the league.
Yeah, I just think I saw him with some Nuggets clothes on the other day, but that's probably just my mind fucking with me.
but I mean, the Nuggets. They beat the Spurs, so I'm not totally right in my prediction because I thought the Spurs were gonna win, but. The Nuggets seems to be going in the right direction.
Yeah, but when you look at the series against the Spurs, then for the Nuggets to have success, they obviously need Jokic to have a good game.
He needs to be more aggressive than just more than.
But also they have Jamal Murray who needs a good game. If he doesn't have a good game, then they're going to lose. The games they lost in this series was where where some of the guys from the Spurs just shut down Jamal Murray. And he won 2 games for the Nuggets also in the series. So he is this closer for them. But he needs to be more consistent.
Yeah, and also just to say that the Spurs also kind of fucked up some of the games because they had at least 2 games they could have won where they were in front with 15 points or something.
Yeah.
So, but that's just being resilient from the Nuggets side. So... it's going to be interesting to see how they're going to do against the Portland Trailblazers. They're split 1-1 right now.
Yeah.
Can you still consider Spurs the strong playoff team, or is it just something we're holding our mind to? I mean, if you think about it, they don't have Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, or Manu Ginobili anymore. It's a different player. It's a different Spurs team, and when you look at the 2 stars on the team, LaMarcus Aldridge and DeMar DeRozan,
And they also have Rudy Gay, who's also a pretty good scorer.
Yeah, but those. When I think about Spurs players, those guys just don't. They don't fit into that.
No, but I would say they play the same way of playing basketball because they don't go out shooting the free. All of those guys.
No,
they take the mid-range shot, and they are tremendously good at it.
Yeah.
And then they have some upcoming stars in Derek White, for example, who played a really, really good series against
one of the surprises in the postseason.
Exactly. But I would still say they can be considered a strong playoff team as long as they have Greg Popovich.
Yeah.
He is
the greatest coach, maybe.
Yeah.
One of them.
Yeah.
I'm putting maybe Phil Jackson in front, but
but he is up there. He's compared with some of the biggest. Yeah. And also on collegiate level with John Wooden and so on.
Yeah, I mean, he's made the Spurs organization one of the most looked up to. I mean, his influence on that organization is just tremendous.
There were many people that thought that the Spurs wasn't going to make the playoffs this year. Yeah. They thought that the teams like Minnesota and before the season. They didn't see Sacramento, and then you have New Orleans, who also had the team who could be better, but
they definitely
they just have a coach who knows what it's all about.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's all we're going to talk about. I mean, even though it was a 7-game series, I mean, it was just it was just one of those series that wasn't. Didn't have the highest ratings, let's just say. So let's go to the most exciting matchup and Rasmus' favorite matchup, the Trailblazers versus Thunder.
I don't want to do this.
And obviously we're going to talk about a lot of things because
it was the best matchup in the entire first round.
Exactly. And also this the way the series ended, it has huge implications for what's going to happen for these 2 organizations.
Yeah.
So, just to wrap the whole thing up, Portland, they win the first 2 games, Then they go to Oklahoma. They win the first one, the Thunder, and then they lose.
They lose the second one, so it's 3-1 going back to Portland.
And then we go to Portland, and
it's Dame time.
They just make a huge comeback, and Damian Lillard has hit one of the most impressive shots in playoffs history.
Yeah.
He hit a 37-foot jump shot over Paul George.
And quoting Paul George, it was a bad shot.
Yeah, it's not a bad shot. So, just to cap this off, was the playoffs more about Westbrook or Lillard?
I think you can put those two up in the same spot because it's equally Westbrook and equally Lillard, because Westbrook is so bad. I don't want to say it, but he's so bad. He takes the wrong decisions.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, you have a Damian Lillard who was just unguardable and unstoppable in the whole series.
And he made the right decisions.
Yeah.
And he was good defensively, actually.
He started the first shot in the entire in the entire series. It was a pull-up jumper from 32
30 feet.
Yeah,
somewhere there.
I think it was 32.
Yeah, I mean,
he just went down in transition 2 minutes into the game.
Yeah,
bam,
I mean, he begins the series and ends the series with a 30+ feet jump shot. I mean,
yeah, and when you look at it, in the last game he scored 50 points. The last 3 there was going for 50 points also. Yeah. So it's, and taking this iconic shot, series clinching shot. There have been 5 of them in playoff history. Lillard has 2. Yeah. One against the one against the Rockets for a couple of years ago, and then this year against the Thunder. But I would also say you can put Paul George into this category also with Westbrook and Lillard, because he was the best guy for the Thunder,
and he had a shoulder
in the regular season, but he had some issues with his shoulder. He played 42 minutes per game in the series, but he wasn't the scorer they needed. In the first game, he was ice cold from 3.
Yeah,
he was really bad in those games, but for me, it still comes down to the guard position with Westbrook against Lillard and the decision making, where Lillard was just on another level.
No, I'm gonna say this was more about Westbrook, because the whole legacy of Westbrook is changing. I mean, because he's getting the same legacy as Allen Iverson right now, because great in the regular season, averaging triple doubles, padding his stats, and then he comes to the postseason and he just is Russell Westbrook. I mean, and Damian Lillard is finally getting some of the recognition he's longed for.
Yeah, but when you look at Damian Lillard, I think people have recognized him as a good shooter, but not as a decisive game-winning player.
No.
But he is, when you look at how he plays and throughout his career, he is really clutch.
Yeah, he is.
It's crazy how good he is in the last 5 minutes of a game.
Yeah.
It's like a robot just turning on and just going, okay, I'm going berserk right now.
He's comparable to Kyrie, because they both have the ability to finish at the rim and,
And still you have Damian Lillard. He can pull up when he walks over the middle.
Logo Lillard.
Yeah. And Kyrie doesn't have that.
No.
But you could say with Damian Lillard, with him pulling up from the logo,
there's nothing to do against that.
It's a good shot.
And also, the percentage for NBA players to hit that shot is remarkably low. But during the series, Lillard hit 8 of 12 from 30+. I mean, that's just ridiculous. Yeah. I mean, and also in that game, he hit like 3 of those shots. Some of them he was just making running jump shots, pull-up jump shots, and then the final one where he fade away. The fadeaway 3-point shot from 37 feet, and it's just remarkable.
I would say when you look at the last shot there from 37 feet, and Paul George saying it was a bad shot, I would say it. You could say that it is a bad shot because you get him so far away from the basket, and there is a higher chance not hitting that shot than hitting it.
Yeah.
But if there is one player I don't want to take that shot, as a defender, no, for me there's only one player that far out, and that's Damian Lillard.
Oh well, I'll put Steph Curry on that too, but he doesn't take that shot.
Exactly, he doesn't take. He go because there's these threats around him. Also, for Steph Curry, he gets closer to the basket.
Yeah.
So I think that the Thunder made the right decision to take him so far away from the basket, but and then it's not luck, but it's not luck. There is some degree of luck hitting it also, but he's just too good at shooting.
It's a terrible shot for 99% of the NBA. And it's not a bad shot for Stephen Curry or Damian Lillard. These two guys are they need to be guarded up close wherever they are on the court when they cross the middle.
I still think when you look at it, Paul George is a little way too bit, or what can you say? He's a little bit too far from Damian Lillard guarding him, but he doesn't want to go too far because he is that's one thing, but I also think that he is terrified. He's scared that he will make a foul on him making the shot. So it's this fine line of defending closely, not making the foul, or going a little bit away and then make sure you don't make a foul, but he gets a more open shot.
Yeah. And also that it was a tight game. The last thing he won.
All of the games were close. It was a really, really good series, but they just had this.
They were just making better decisions.
Yeah.
I mean, Westbrook had several games where it just became mano a mano instead of Thunder versus Portland.
Yeah,
and
but
it has been.
I think when you look at the first 5-8 minutes in that time frame in the first game, the Thunder made the right decision going into Steven Adams against Enes Kanter because Kanter isn't a good defender.
No,
and Steven Adams is. It's not like he's a really, really good offensive player, but
really strong.
Yeah, he could go in and dominate against Kanter, and when Portland was in defense.
Exactly.
And after those 7-8 minutes, they didn't do that anymore in the series. It's like. It doesn't make sense that they go away from the things that was good for them.
Yeah, true. So, what are the future for the Thunder? What are they gonna learn from this season? What are they gonna do with Westbrook? Are they finally gonna get a new coach? Because I hope they get a new coach for their own sake.
I've said this for the last year. I think that Billy Donovan needs to get away from the Thunder. He's an okay coach, but he doesn't know how to handle Westbrook. No. When you look at what was his name, Brooks.
Scott Brooks.
Yeah, that was the coach when Kevin Durant also were there and all that. He could handle he knew how to manage how Westbrook played.
Not always.
When I also think it comes down to having a really, really good player like Kevin Durant on the team that can take the ball away from Westbrook. Because Westbrook he's going after he had this triple-double season, and his MVP season, he just thinks that he's the best player in the league and he needs to go up in all his stats and needs to get this triple-double every time and all that. For me, he is too what can you say? He is too self-sanitized. Yeah, he thinks a lot. Thinks more about himself, and his own stat line said that he thinks about the team.
Well, he has this. He even had this side when Kevin Durant was there.
Yeah.
That in clutch moments he wants to be the one who makes the shots, and that has actually hurt OKC more than it has helped.
I would still say, because when you look at his career, he has been an okay 3-point shooter.
Yeah.
But it seems like that there's something in his head that says to him, okay, I'm not, I cannot shoot anymore, but I'm going to shoot anyway.
Yeah.
I think he shot in the lower 20s percentage from 3-point this season. That's terrible.
Yeah, it is. Especially, especially when it's Westbrook.
Yeah.
Because he's the point guard.
Yeah. And then you have a Paul George who he played out of this level or out of this world for some of the season, where I think if it was just in those games where he averaged almost 40 points per game, he would be the MVP of the league.
Yeah.
And then he got tired and injured with his shoulder and so on, and then wasn't that good anymore. But it comes down to if they can hold on to both Westbrook and Paul George and maybe get some shooters around.
Yeah.
If they can do that, then they can get far in the playoffs again. But they need some more guys around them.
So what do you think about Portland and their potential right now?
I'm so impressed. They lost their. I don't know if I wants to say the second or third best player for the team with Nurkic, but a huge part of the whole squad or the team was Nurkic, and he's injured. And then you have Enes Kanter going in and just being a beast, having 20 games all over the place almost, and injured with his shoulder, still playing, and all that. And then you just have Damian Lillard playing out of this world in the whole playoffs so far.
So one of the things that I take away is Lillard finally getting the recognition he deserves? Because in my opinion, he had deserved a lot of the criticism he has had in the past. Because last year against Pelicans, I don't know what happened. I simply don't know what happened. They got swept by a Pelicans team. Obviously,
Pelicans had some really good defensive guards who could really annoy Lillard. And if you can annoy
the backcourt,
if you can get into Lillard's head, then Lillard isn't a really good player. It's like James Harden. If you get into his head, then
they just shut down.
Yeah. So for me, I still think he has gotten a lot of recognition throughout his career for his shooting abilities and so on. So I wouldn't say that he finally gets the recognition he needs or deserves, but to some extent, he gets more recognition because he made that series clinching free in Game 5.
Yeah.
And for me, it's so impressive that he made that shot. But if you know anything about Lillard and watch some of his games, you know he does that.
Yeah. So, he does. But it's about time he does it in the playoffs, because he hasn't been this good in the playoffs since when he hit the game-winning shot
against the series against the Rockets. Where he hit the same.
He has been really quiet in the postseason in the other years. So I think it's great for him. He's finally on the top 5 point guards of all time. In current time. And and Westbrook finally. I never liked him that much, and I'm pretty glad that people are waking up to what kind of a point guard he is, because he is just unreliable.
Yeah.
And I'll say this all season: if he kept playing the unselfish way he did in the regular season, then the Thunder would be fine. They could upset the Warriors, but he just kept on doing the same thing, and that's
and going back to the first minutes of the game 1, he was so unselfish. He went on dishing the ball around and then he began to take shots, and then
he got too confident. That's the thing with Westbrook, and he wanted
and
to
then
play.
the series just went down from there.
Yeah. So that was all the matchups. So in the end, we would just make a quick ranking. We're gonna take the top 3 players, either surprised you or you thought was the best players, and the top 3 teams to win the championship. So, who are your top 3 players?
I need to go with Damian Lillard.
That's number 1.
I'm just going to say who I have, and then I'm going to rank them. I just need to think a little bit about it. But Damian Lillard, Enes Kanter, and then I would say Lou Williams, even though they didn't went on, but because he was this unstoppable player, I'm going to take a 4th one also with Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
He was just
unbelievable.
Yeah.
When they wanted to.
I would still, if I need to take one as number 1, I would say Damian Lillard, because he was the player who won the whole series against the Thunder. Then I would take Lou Williams, because he was also so good, and probably tied for second. I would take Kevin Durant up there, because it was a good matchup between those two. And then you have Enes Kanter just surprising me, being that good throughout the whole series. So that's my top 3-4 guys.
Okay, so my top 3 players. At number 3, I'm going with Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
And I'm doing that because he has this identity crisis where he always needs to figure out who he is. He needs to realize, dude, you are 7 feet and can shoot the ball like I've seen no one. The 2 players that may be better than you are Damian Lillard and Stephen Curry and Klay Thompson. There are not many better than him, and he's 7 foot. So he needs to get the ball and just shoot when he gets the chance.
Yeah.
And sometimes he can get too warrior in his basketball approach, to dish it out. And that was one of the problems against the Clippers. But then he says, when he was asked if he wants to go mano a mano against Patrick Beverley, he's like, I don't need to do that. You know who I am. I'm Kevin Durant. And then he puts 45 piece a game right after. I mean,
he averaged 34.3 points per game throughout the playoffs right now.
Exactly. And that's why I hate him for being in the Warriors, because he's just that good, and he went to that team. And I would have loved to see him in another team, and if he could win championships. He would get my respect if he did that on another team. So, yeah. Number 2, I'm going to put Kawhi, actually. Because Kawhi is just... He also averaged a ridiculous amount of points, but it's just quiet. I mean, it's so fundamental. I mean, the way he scores, it's like watching sometimes highlights of Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
I mean, and he defends at such a high clip. I mean, so I'm putting him at number 2. A lot of expectations for him going against the 76ers. And at number 1, it's Dame time. I mean, that shot was just ridiculous, and he needs.
I would have been angry if you haven't put Damian Lillard as number 1.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, he was just good. And also, just to top everything off, after he put Westbrook in his place, his tweet, also when he waved them, they stare at the camera, and then he tweeted, he cited from Sun Tzu, The Art of War, where he tweeted, "It's the calm and calculated warrior who ends up earning the victory over the emotional warrior." I mean, that's just... was as precise as it could be.
I think it was so cool. And he was so cool-headed when he made that shot and just like, okay,
them by.
He's just like his posture.
Yeah,
it's just like, okay, I just hit a shot. It's just a normal shot.
It's calm and determined.
Yeah, and then he just watched over at the Thunder bench and then waved.
Yeah,
just bye.
And also the way he explained that, because the way he says it. The Thunder players was just too arrogant in the third game where they won, and they got what they deserved. It seems like.
Yeah, but I even though I'm a Thunder supporter, I think it was deserved that they didn't win the series, because they've been too arrogant in so many games throughout the season.
And let's end with our projections on the second round.
What about our top 3 teams?
Oh yeah, top 3 teams. I totally forgot that. I can begin with that. Obviously, I'm putting number 3. I have Houston Rockets because I am sure whoever wins between Golden State and Rockets, they're gonna win they're gonna win the trophy.
Just to make it clear, are you taking the top 3 teams going forward in the playoffs, or from the first round?
Winning NBA,
okay,
the title, and I think the winner from the Golden State and Houston Rockets series, they're gonna win everything. Obviously, it all comes to James Harden and some of the supporting cast. They just need to be good. I mean, they can't have, especially against the Warriors, someone like Clint Capella can't have 8 points and 6 rebounds or something like that, because he wanted this matchup. He needs to show it.
He needs to have a 15-15 game.
Exactly. He needs those double figures.
Yeah.
Then number 2, I'm going with Bucks because they have the perfect recipe to beat the Warriors. My skepticism comes from if they're able to do it against the other teams right now, because especially since the first game against the Celtics, and obviously the first one, Golden State Warriors. Kevin Durant, please go away from the team after the season so we can have someone others winning it, because it's just tiresome to watch Golden State be so good. I mean, you need another challenge. We need to see how good you can be on another team.
Yeah. For me, I am going a little bit differently. I still have... I can't rank them. I don't know how I want to rank them, but I'm just going to put 3 teams out there. Of course, I'm taking Warriors also because they are so good.
Yeah.
Then I'm just conflicted if I want to take the Bucks in, because I think there is a limit to that team. And for me, I think that if the Celtics can be as good in the defensive end as they were in the first game, then they are a better team. Yeah. They have more players to play. So I would put Boston Celtics up there, and I'm still conflicted with the Bucks, because it's just like there is so many good teams in the East, and everyone can win a series against everyone. And I've said it before, I think that the 76ers can surprise and go all the way. So I need to take 76ers in and put the Bucks out, because I think if Joel Embiid can stay healthy, I think they have the best chance of going through, because they have so many players in their starting 5, and they can put good shooters in from the bench.
Yeah.
So they have an okay broad squad. It's not as broad as the Raptors, but in the starting lineup they can have a scorer in Redick, Butler, Harris, and Embiid, and then they have Ben Simmons just going around and dishing away. So I need to put the 76ers up there also.
So what was the 3 again?
Warriors.
No, number 3. Not first.
I would take Boston in number 3.
Yeah. You're not putting the Warriors second, are you?
I'm tempted to do it, but it's just my love for how good Embiid is and Ben Simmons. But I would take 76ers in at number 2. But it's really
it's a close one.
It's a really close one with the Warriors in number 1, because I don't think that the Warriors are so good this year as they've been other years.
Yeah, exactly. So just to cap everything off, quick projections on the second round. So the first one, Bucks versus Celtics.
Celtics win it in 7.
And I take Bucks in 6. Because I think they figured it out with how to play against the Celtics. Obviously, it's a chess game, but I just think that...
I just have the Celtics at home in the playoffs.
Yeah.
They are really good at home in the playoffs, so...
That is true. So, Raptors, 76ers, and I'm going with Raptors 7.
I have 76ers in 6.
So, I think Kawhi is going to be really good. So, and And I think he's gonna pick Ben Simmons' pockets in the nearest future. So.
But I still have that X factor in someone like Tobias Harris.
Exactly.
Because who's going to guard him? Who's going to guard Redick? Who's going to guard Butler?
But the Raptors also have better bench.
Yeah, but when you look at it, you have a Kyle Lowry who needs to be good in offense.
Yeah.
But he needs to run around all the time with Redick.
Exactly.
He's going to be so tired of being in defense.
Exactly. That's true. I mean, we're gonna see how it all turns out. Then the Western Conference, the two matchups there: Warriors Rockets.
Maybe it's a little bit arrogant to say, but I think Warriors have it in 5.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Warriors in 7 because I hope Rockets gonna win, and I hope Chris Paul is gonna get his ring finally. But the way it has turned out so far, it doesn't look good. Because
I think that Rockets maybe get the first one at home.
Yeah.
And then Warriors are just...
It's a gentleman's sweep.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's going to be this gentleman's sweep.
I think they're going to take the 2 again. Because that's what happened last year too. Because it seemed like Warriors were going to roller coast. And then suddenly Houston just came up from nowhere.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Then the Nuggets versus Trailblazers. And I'm going to go with the Trailblazers. And I'm going to take them in 6.
I also have Portland, but I have them in 7.
Okay. So I actually thought you were going to take the Nuggets.
It's close, and that's why I take it in 7.
Yeah.
It's right now, I think it's more like a 55-45% chance of Portland winning.
Yeah.
Because they get the home court advantage after winning this, last night.
Yeah.
And that's also why I have both Boston and the 76ers. It's the home court advantage.
Exactly.
Taking the home court advantage away from the Raptors and the Bucks it's a huge deal doing that.
Exactly.
And now they can go over if they can defend their home court in their first 2 games at home.
Yeah.
But all of these teams, then they lead 3-1, and that's a huge lead in a playoff series.
Yeah, it's only happened around 11 times or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. So for me, that is the decisive thing in these series. It's the home court advantage.
Yeah. So we're going to wrap this whole episode out now. And our next episode is going to be when the conference final starts. Yeah. So that's going to be some important matchups. Exciting matchups.
See if we really are experts in the
NBA. But that's the beauty of playoffs. You can never really know. So
exactly.
So I even thought that it was the 76ers who's going to be the bane of the Cleveland Cavaliers last season. Yeah. And look how that all turned out. So yeah. But our next episode is in the conference finals. So you're gonna listen to us again around that time.
Yeah.